BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for everything football. BetOnline has every stat, every matchup, and even live odds and spreads to bet on during the games. Think you know your stuff? Get in on our $200,000 mega contest and pick 5 games against the spread every week for your chance at weekly prizes and a share of $200K. When the game's over, head on over to our online casino and get in on a game of blackjack or poker, or unwind with one of our over 150 slots games. Head to the website today to get in on the action. Bet online, where the game starts. Welcome to the Bleav in the Arizona Cardinals podcast, part of the Bleav Network, joined by former tight end and Super Bowl 33 participant Ed Smith. I am Javon Adams. Be sure to subscribe, comment, rate, and follow this podcast and tell all of your Arizona Cardinal fans and friends to do the same. You can also watch us on Bleav TV around the country, in airports, and on YouTube. Read the top Bleav stories at si.com and follow us across all our Bleav socials. Bleav in the Arizona Cardinals. Again, my name is Javon Adams with the one and only Ed Smith. What is good, my brother?
Another week, man. It's too early in the year for controversy, isn't it? Yeah, our young quarterback has found his way to let us know that not much has changed in the way of his demeanor and, leadership abilities. It's just crazy, how we right back here so early in the season. But we got a game to get after this week. We'll see what happens, man.
So the Arizona Cardinals are going to be taking on or inviting the Los Angeles Rams to State Farm Stadium this week to the matchup of two 0-1 teams. But so we're going to talk about the matchup. Going to talk a little bit about the culture or trying to grab fans' attention. But before we do that, I'd be remiss if I didn't say it. So you're talking about the comments of Kyler Murray when he was talking about "This isn't my job." Is that what you're talking about? Those comments?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. So did you hear the whole quote though?
I did hear the whole quote. I've heard it chopped up several times, and I've heard several people kind of overlay it, And as a former player, I mean, obviously I see things a little different than most people. I did not see that as let's just say it this way. There's so many different ways, Jay, he could have approached that and
I agree.
Said something that would have brought absolutely zero controversy. So it's the delivery, and it's the fact that you haven't been a leader to this point. It has been sketchy that, where once again, you give people a reason to like do a double take. Like, what did he say? I mean, if he was Patrick Mahomes and said something like that, it's like, Patrick, he's
okay. Real quick, just for anybody who hasn't heard, during the week, Kyler Murray was asked about. Of course, we talked about it earlier in the week as well. But the lack of targets for Marvin Harrison Jr. And in essence, what he said was, he says, "That's not my job. My job is to really execute the plays that are called and not really try to force anything. That's the job of offensive coordinator Drew Petzing," is essentially what he said. And then when Petzing was interviewed, I think it was the next day or maybe later in that day, he did mention that he echoed Kyler Murray's sentiments and said, "That's my job to call the plays that will then get it forced." So now continue with what you're saying, because he could have handled it differently. I agree with that, but go ahead.
Petzing had no other choice than to echo and support his quarterback, right? You didn't want to. What could he have done? I mean, I call the plays, and the quarterback is supposed to read the plays. No, his job is to squash the fire, which he did. But in essence, I mean, you are in control when you're out there on the field with the ball in hand. And the part of the statement is like, "It's not my job." It's kind of, for me, it's like, well, what is your job? Your job is to run the offense and be a leader out there. And if it's time to get somebody involved, maybe every now and then look his way. Have we heard of quarterbacks trying to squeeze one in when it wasn't there? Right?
Yes. Yeah, right.
Yep. Okay. Why'd they do that? Because I was just trying to get him involved. So you do have the power, and it is your job to get certain people involved, especially number 1 pick, 4th pick overall. People are looking for all this explosion and stuff like that. And like I said, it was, what I didn't like is, once again, it was him. Well, I'm doing my job. Everybody else has to do theirs. It's not mine. It's not my fault. That's what I get. He had so many other ways he could have answered it, but instead he went the same old route instead of, hey, you know what? We know we got to get Marvin Harrison the ball. And part of it is my. Here's the thing: never admitting mistake that you made an error or mistake. Hey, he could have said, I got to do a better job of looking his way and making sure we get him involved. That point blank period. If he said that, what does everybody say? Case closed. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
But it's never his fault. And it's always not my job. No, somebody else. and that's what bugs me the most. It's, bruh. I mean, it's too early in the year. Hey, Marvin Harrison, you're just getting started with your career. How excited are you to play with Kyle Murray? Oh, I'm so sorry. I mean, golly. Support your young players.
You got a point. Yeah, you do have a point. He could have approached that differently, but in essence, it's almost like the point guard or the quarterback that's on the youth football level. Your son is playing, and he's not playing youth football. He's playing higher than the youth football level. But it's almost as if, well, how come you didn't look at me getting mad at the quarterback, and the offensive coordinator says, hey, that's my job. Don't worry about what he's doing. It's my job to worry about that, right? Isn't it like that?
Bro, I mean, we just got paid $230 large, right? There's a whole bunch of things that aren't in your job description that are your job. You just got paid $230 million large.
Okay.
So
I like this. What I'm hearing from Ed Smith.
The job description is not always just what's on the paper, right?
Okay.
How many times you look at it, go looking for a job, and you look down at the job description, and when you get in for an interview, they want to remind you there's a few more things you got to do as well. Well, Kyle, there's a few more things you need to do, not just what's on the. I have to run the plays, I have to throw the ball to the guys who are open, and that's it. Okay, then you're not a franchise quarterback.
Yeah, and some of those ones that they don't mention, you have to encourage your players. You have to give them. You have to. You encourage, you have to lead, you have to take the blame when it's
every
not,
now and then you got to take a
BB.
You just got to take a BB because it's my brigade. I am going to lead this team, and every now and then it might not even be my fault, but I'm going to take responsibility so I can shoulder that and we can get on from this. Like I said, the fact that in my job, I'm doing my job. Not my job to be, they need to call the plays to get him open, or he needs to get open. Come on, man.
Oh man. So that is Ed Smith. I'm Javon Adams. So let's get into it then, because Kyler is going to be at the helm this week when the Rams come to State Farm Stadium. And a couple of interesting facts before we start to break this game down, and this is probably going to be a recurring theme through today's podcast, is that the Rams really own the Cardinals. What is it? The stat that I came across, a couple stats from StatMuse that I came across. So the last time that the Cardinals beat the Rams at home was in 2014, and that's when the Rams were the St. Louis Rams before they came back to Los Angeles. It's going to be, this is talk about having your number and all that back in the day to switch sports when Pedro Martinez, the pitcher then for the Boston Red Sox, said that the Yankees are our daddy because they kept beating them. And so it's one of those things. So the Rams are, there was that joke, or I think it was when you looked up on Wikipedia, the owner for the Cardinals, it was Sean McVay, because he's beat the Cardinals so many times. But along those lines, this is one of those things that we talked about it last season, and it continues. I'm going to give you the record, 10-23, again, coming from StatMuse. Since 2020, the Arizona Cardinals have a home record of 10-23. 10-23. And this is one of those things where you used to talk about protect the nest and all that, because the Cardinals you would get a lot of false starts when you came to play the Cardinals, because the crowd would get pretty loud, even though some of the noise was piped in, but it was still loud. It was still loud because I was at a few of those games, so it was still loud. And then over time, you would always see the other jerseys, the opposing team's jerseys in the stands, but then you started to see it more and more, especially as the team started to win less and less. And so it's going to be really important, especially over the next 3 games. They have 3 home games. They have the Rams coming into town. They have the Detroit Lions, which is going to be very difficult. And then you have the Washington Commanders, to try to get some type of confidence to make the fans feel as if they've turned a corner or they're going the right way. So they need to win some games at home. That's really important to me. Am I wrong here when it comes to the Cardinals and trying to get the fans really on their side based upon the excitement that came from drafting a Marvin Harrison Jr.?
No, absolutely, because everybody is so, we know that this isn't a superior team. So we got to win every game that we think we can in order to make this somewhat a successful season. You brought up an interesting point. They haven't won since the Cardinals were in a different city, right?
Yep.
That's like I was sitting there thinking that's like you used to date a girl who got married, right? And her name has changed. It's like, well, damn, she's been married 10, 15 years. That's a long time ago. It's like, yeah, we haven't beat them since they were in, St. Louis. Golly. But I mean, they do own us. Their style of play, and I will say this much, especially since Kyler Murray has gotten under center, a lot of the familiarity is a beast in this situation. They play Kyler Murray twice a year for the when he's been healthy. They have a blueprint that they've put together that works very well for them. And I guarantee a lot of other teams that have faced the Cardinals, especially teams that don't see them a lot, they look at Rams tape because it's like, wow, they've handled it pretty well, how they bottled Murray up. And they look, think about it, just because you look at it on tape doesn't mean everybody can do it. But with the Rams, they've had the formula of, containing on the outside, pushing into his lap, forcing him in that pocket to stay in there and not letting him get outside, so they've done what they've needed to do. And for the most part, it's been successful with them. Now, the thing is, there's no Aaron Donald here now, so that's a big piece that's missing. But if they can come here with, their same attack and get after us, they're going to make it a very difficult game. And you bring up the part of protecting home field, man. Nothing more humiliating. My first year in Atlanta, we started the season 1-7. We were not a good team. And I remember we played your Raiders that year. And I remember, and this is at the old Georgia Dome, I remember coming out of our tunnel. And it was like, I was like, damn, are we at home or on the road? Bro, we got booed coming out of our own tunnel. And there were more cheers for the Raiders coming out. Yeah. And that's somewhat humiliating. Then what I marvel at is the next year we went to the Super Bowl, and a lot of people didn't believe in us early, but by the end of the season, boy, everybody's out there doing the Dirty Bird and wearing all their costumes and playing the music and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's amazing how fast it can change. But here we do have a problem of fans, especially teams that are closer, coming and taking over our building. And I mean, if that's the case again, it always makes it easier for the other team to run their offense. Can make it hard on you. You have to get to a point where you have to go do silent counts in your own building. So there's all kind of factors that go with that. And I'm telling you, man, it'll be interesting to see how the fan base comes out to support and what we see from the Cardinals to start this game out.
Indeed. And so along those lines, both teams 0-1 coming in. Close games. Both teams should have won their first games. There's some injuries that came across. The Rams are coming in kind of beat up. Puka Nacua, he's on the injured reserve, so he's not going to be in this game. The Cardinals, Jonah Williams, who was injured during I think it was the second quarter of last week's game, he's on the injured reserve. So and a couple other members of the Los Angeles Rams are injured or banged up, and so won't be playing. So this is one of those times where they should be wounded enough that the Cardinals may be able to take advantage of the Los Angeles Rams. But here's one of the things that I wanted to get your thoughts on in terms of just really coming from the perspective of maybe what the Cardinals have to do to maybe win this game. And conversely, of course, we can talk about what the Rams need to do to win this game. But 21 targets for Cooper Kupp last week with the quarterback from the Los Angeles Rams. Stafford was targeted Cooper Kupp 21 times. That is a crazy number of targets. There were 14 receptions though, but still 21 targets. That's too much, right? Because the reason I'm asking that, not only for when we're thinking about the DBs for the Arizona Cardinals, really have to be because Cooper Kupp, he'll get you. That boy can get some yards and get some touchdowns. Is that too much? And then conversely, we mentioned this on Monday's show. My concern is there going to be such an overcorrection from Kyler Murray when it comes to Marvin Harrison that he'll target him 10, 15, 20 times and then get out of the flow of the offense in that case. And I wanted your thoughts on that.
The number of targets for Cooper Kupp, I mean, that's a lot. That just shows the confidence that Stafford has in him. And once Puka went down, it was like, where are they going to get their receptions from? And that was almost like pre-Koopa or Puka, Cooper Kupp right there. Try saying that fast 3 times.
True.
So, I mean, that was something that happened out of necessity. I don't think that wasn't their initial game plan. It was just how things worked out when Puka went down. And obviously, old comfort, like an old comfy couch. He just kept going back to Cooper. Probably threw their game plan off a little bit. But do you remember they got back in that game in the second half and took it to overtime? So it wasn't like it was all for naught. I mean, they were getting after the Lions and could have easily won that game. For us, as far as an overcorrection, I could see one. And then what I worry about is there's an overcorrection, then maybe there's an interception, and then what happens is Murray now has that's why I wasn't trying to over target him. He's not ready yet, or they have me do this and it just out of the game plan. And I don't want to give them any excuses. What you need to do is just be consistent with your approach. Now, the game plan, Petson, you can definitely call a couple plays early to try to get Marvin involved. And those are quick hitches, a slant or two or something like that. Just something just to get his feet on the ground, get him feeling comfortable, and then you continue on with the game plan appropriately. I don't think you can dictate, especially if the defense knows that that's what you're going to try to do. They're going to double up on Marvin. They're probably thinking the same thing we are. There's going to be an overcorrection. We can get a hand in there, bat one away, maybe get a cheap interception, something like that. So all eyes are going to be on that connection. So will it happen? It remains to be seen. Should it happen? No. It should be within the confines of the offense. Run your plays, go through your progressions. Now I will say this, Marvin Harrison should be progression number 1 in these. So, and what I mean by that, as a quarterback, he has a route tree. So he's got combinations working. First thing you got to do is work the side of the ball that he's on. Then that depends on the look. You come up, you got 2 high safeties, or you got cover 3 or something like that. You might have in cover 3. That means one safety in the field, 2 cornerbacks out there. You might have ability to work either side. Let's work Marvin's side. Let's not go away from him, right? You got cover 2, that might take him away. So you work the other side appropriately. But let's make sure, if we get man out there, whatever it is, if we got opportunities to work his side, let him be the first progression. Because if you go to his side first, then it might go his slant to this out to this check down over here on the side. But if you go away from him, he might be the 4th progression on the backside. Let's make sure we work his side when possible. That's all I'm saying. You don't have to force it to him, but don't make him progression number. And that's responsibility of offensive coordinator. And then Murray making sure you don't get off of his progression too fast, meaning stick with him for a second, give him an opportunity to, come open and then get off him as fast as you have to get the number 2, to get the number 3. So everybody has a responsibility. And then obviously Marvin Harrison Jr., his responsibility is to get open. So everybody can take blame, but everybody can also take responsibility and do their job in executing to make sure that we don't have this issue moving forward.
Now, when you mention that, if you're seeing that your rookie wide receiver, who's supposed to be your number 1 receiver, is having some issues with trying to maybe get off coverage or some of those things, of course, that's where coaching comes in. But doesn't that come into calling different types of plays as well? So if you know that it may be moving him around, one of the criticisms of the previous regime with Cliff Kingsbury is that you knew where D-Hop was going to line up no matter what. At all times, you knew exactly where he was going to be. So doesn't that fall upon the offensive coordinator as well to make sure when we're scheming him? Because I think of, and there are extreme situations. You think of an Andy Reid with the way that with the plays and the schemes that he puts together, and then also you think of Shanahan over there with the 49ers with the different things that he does. He does the extreme, even if they run the same play and they do in these different motions, just to get you to kind of show your hand.
It's all about during the week. That's why we practice, Jay. That's why which routes does he look best in during the week? Which ones is he more comfortable with? There's also a thing when you're drafted as a fourth pick overall wide receiver in comparison to a guy like Puka who was drafted fifth, or some of these guys drafted even later than that. Your expectations and especially your pedigree is also supposed to come into play as well.
Yeah.
You should have less to work on as a fourth overall pick than a dude coming out in the sixth round from a school with one of those directional schools. So there's expectations on you with great expectations. What was that the Spider-Man?
Yeah, with great power comes great expectations, something along those lines.
Yeah. So you have to also, you can't have a whole bunch of weaknesses. For Marvin Harrison, we can't be trying to teach you how to run outs and digs at this point. Those are things you should know how to run. Now, getting away from coverage, elite coverage now in the NFL, and reading the coverages and identifying different things, those are going to come with time. So we shouldn't have certain routes that he doesn't run better. No, you got to run all the routes on the tree right now. The issue is, how do you get away from some of these covers, recognize some of these covers, break or cut your routes short when you have to. These are little things that he'll learn, finding the windows. Instead of running through a window in zone, he'll start to figure out, and this is with time playing with Murray, all of a sudden now you see these guys, he'll settle down in a window, whereas before he used to run through it to try to get to the next one. These are things that he'll learn along the way. But as far as the route tree and stuff like that, we can't have any routes as a number one overall pick that we're like having that much issue with that he can't run. You can run a fly, you can run a post, you can run a corner, you should be able to run a dig, you can run a stop, you can run a slant. I mean, these are the hits and stuff like that. These are things should all be in his goodie bag. It's just a matter of getting him comfortable. Now, what I need to do is find out which ones he runs best.
Okay.
And use those, Maybe he's great on the 12-yard digs. So we got to find some combinations that bring him into the window over the top of the middle linebacker in front of those safeties and stuff like that. Maybe he likes to fly a little more. So maybe we get him on some corners or some banana routes or whatever it is. So these are the things. And then, as you said, move him in motion so he's not so stationary. But all those things I don't want to forget, it's only week 1, bruh. But the reason we're all jumping on it is because
it can get late. It can get late pretty quick, especially with this homestand. If we don't start to see some of those positive returns, and
it can, because our quarterback won't just say the right things and let us move on from it. If Murray had said different, we'd have been. Would this have been a story, bro? We'd have been like, well, he just didn't get targeted in the first game, but they're working on that. But because Murray, not my job, Mr. Murray, that's why we're talking about. So if we can get our quarterback on the same page, just say the right thing, then we do the right thing by everybody doing their job. Receiver, run your routes. OC, make sure you coordinate it where he might be a focal point earlier in the progressions than later. Murray, see him early, hit him early, or get off him early and get to the next guys. But those are all the things that everybody has to do. And obviously offensive line has to protect, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it can all get done. We just have to everybody on the same page to do it, bro.
You mentioned time, but I also want to should be time to be able to look at also Trey McBride as well. So really to take advantage of him as one of those safety valves. But in terms of time, when we're talking about Stafford, to get some type of pass rush, at least to not let him get comfortable back there, to be able to find Cooper Kupp, because I imagine he's going to target him a high amount of times. When we're talking about what the Cardinals need to do to win, I would imagine that's to generate some type of pass rush, whether it's manufactured or with just the guys that are coming. But when you're thinking about the Cardinals, you're thinking about the Rams, what do the Cardinals need to do to come out with a victory at home against the Los Angeles Rams?
Well, I'll talk about, since you started with Stafford and their offense, we definitely have to take advantage of their battered offensive line. They went and picked through everybody's waiver wire and practice squads, and they brought a few guys in there. We have to make sure we don't allow them to get comfortable with a running game and then get after Stafford as much as possible. We saw what happened when they gave Stafford time in the second game, hostile environment against the Detroit Lions, they picked him apart. He started moving and making shorter passes, doing what he had to do to get Cooper the ball and everybody else. So got to stop the running game. Can't allow Stafford to sit back there and just pick us apart, because they will. Their offense is dynamic enough, and they're good at play action. So they'll pick, and all of a sudden over the top with Cup, those type of things. So we have to keep away from the big plays, stop the running game, get after Stafford. On the other side of the ball, I'll say it again, we're not winning anything and we're not doing anything with this offense until they start to get more vertical, less horizontal. We threw the ball too many times last week to have 150 or whatever yards it was. Everything dink and dunk behind the line of scrimmage, at the line of scrimmage, or just above on the other side of the line of scrimmage. One other thing that I've heard, I won't take full credit for it, but I can say that I can let our fans know Murray was under center 8 times in the first half. You know how many times he was under center in the second half, Jay?
And what, 0?
0. You cannot have that.
Predictability,
and also
and plus it doesn't open up things for play action.
Doesn't allow Connor to take advantage of his biggest asset, which is downhill. We're constantly doing that read option stuff when they're trying to get him started late, and I guarantee you what happened at halftime. They go in, we're up, but this could get away from us. What, Murray, what'd you like in the first half? I definitely like being under center. I like when we did such and such. So they came out and just totally abandoned getting under center. You can't allow that. You can't allow your young quarterback, who you want him to be comfortable, but at the same time, you are the head coach. You're the OC. You got to make sure you do what's best for your offense. And to be under center 0 times in the second half and take an entire portion of your game away from you, meaning play action and downhill run, I mean, you get what you get in the end. And unless we come up with our identity. And the other thing, and I'll say it again for people who didn't listen to the other podcasts earlier this week, shame on you. Can I remind you one more time, Jay? What do we have? We have a short quarterback, right? I'll say it again. Yes. We have a short quarterback. So how do you help that short quarterback when they're trying to push the pocket into his lap and contain him?
I was listening. You move him. You move the pocket.
Now you might lose half the field, but you're now opening it up where he can see more of those things. And then what you do is you flood that side of the field. You can take something a little deeper. You have something mid and something on the backside and something right out front that he can dump it off to. But you flood that side of the field and you move him, get him outside, take advantage of his running skills if you have to. Nothing's there. He goes and picks up 7, picks up 8, 9, 10, whatever it is, or even it's just anything positive, So now you're second and short instead of second and 10. But if you're going to consistently drop him back, leave him back there amongst the tree, trying to look through the trees, trying to find, it's just not going to work. If I could do anything, if I could send a memo to the front office or OC Petting, on the outside of the envelope, I was a friendly reminder inside, and all I would do is it'd be a big piece of paper with just reminder: we have a short quarterback. Put him on the move, get him out there. So I mean, and like I said, that would probably help us with our more vertical attack rather than our horizontal attack. If we keep trying to score touchdowns on the left side or sideline and on the right sideline, we're never going to do anything. We got to know that the end zone is in front of us, not out to the left and right. So until we figure that out, it's going to be the same old.
All right. So from what I see, the Cardinals right now are favored -1. What do you think about the outcome of this game? I'm thinking maybe 24-20 Rams. Because it's hard to overcome that stigma, because what ends up happening is the mental aspect of it. If you get down or if you're not able to generate that pass rush or whatever that thing is, the players on the team that have played them, even though if it was just last year and you didn't beat them, it starts to mess with your mind, and so I think that starts to play. But I think it'll be a close game, but I think maybe 24-20 the Rams will be victorious, and I hope I'm wrong.
I learned another valuable lesson last night, bro. Thursday Night Football, the Miami Dolphins cannot, I repeat, cannot beat the Buffalo Bills, and I thought, you know what? Nah, they're gonna do it this time. And the Buffalo Bills have owned them. I went against my better judgment. I picked Miami. Looked like a fool. Because the Rams own the Cardinals. Until you beat the man, you can't beat a man. Yeah. And for me, it's like McVay will figure out some way to come in here and squeak out a victory through scheming around their insufficiencies. If it's now we don't have enough offensive linemen to get back for the 7-step jobs, what do? 5 and 3. We put our combinations. We'll do some shorter combinations, and then we take a chance with play action up the field. We'll bust 1 or 2, but our game plan is going to be run the ball downhill, short passing game, and then defensively we know how we're going to attack Murray. Contain him, push everything into his lap, and wait for them to make a mistake. And I mean, until I see it, I'm not going away from it. I'm right there with you. I'm thinking like this could be medium scoring game, not high scoring. So just like you, I'm like 24-19, something like that, with the Rams getting the victory. And then like you have to take into account, they might come in here and have the support of their fans over our fans. So, but I'm right there with you. I think the Cardinals, unfortunately, and people don't realize we want to pick the Cardinals. I do this every week. I do all these pools and pick-ems and that. And I'd love to pick my hometown Cardinals, but until they show me, I gotta, be a little smarter, and I'm gonna go Rams in this one.
Till you do right by me.
Ain't nothing.
So he is Ed
everything
Smith.
You think about.
He is Ed Smith. I am Javon Adams. This is Bleav in the Arizona Cardinals. Make sure you tell a friend about what we have going on here. We do this twice a week. We are presented by Bet Online, and as we always like to say around this time, are you?